Hey everybody, 1 second while I get something set up. I'm looking at this stream on my phone to make sure it looks good. Hold on. I actually don't mix colors very much. I don't think it works as well with watercolor. So this is going to be something I'm really trying out today. If you saw my OC drawing that is like the goddess of the sea, but she's a zombie, I actually want her to be one of my main character's mamas, which means that I have to make them look similar now. And that could be interesting because I don't really want the main character to look like a zombie. But it could obviously make them look green. I'm not sure how much I want them to have in common. Like I don't want both of them to have magical powers. Although I think I probably will give her the ability to like breathe underwater because I think that makes sense. I'm not sure exactly how much I want them to have in common because literally right after I finished like the first draft of these two's relationship, which is a whole other story, I'll explain it another time, I found something out that changed the way I thought about them. And then I was like, oh, well, what do I do now? Okay. I obviously got pink because it's my favorite color. I don't know if you noticed. Maybe I didn't make it obvious, but it is. And I have green, but it's more of like an emerald green. So I want to try and add some white to lighten it up. Although maybe I should try just working with the basic colors first, I forgot these are kind of watery and you have to shake them up. I was reading the instructions to these paints because they come with instructions and they talk about the CMYK thing. I feel like I should brush up on which colors are the primary colors of which medium. Because I know it's different depending on if you're looking at like paint or light, things like that, but I do not remember what all the different sets are. And I feel like one day that's going to be important. It reminded me of when Sword and Shield was coming out and people were talking about the CMYK theories. Like, we already have cyan and magenta, so what about yellow and black? And I don't think we necessarily had to have those. I think the cyan and the magenta are just derived from red and blue because those are colors Pokemon, historically uses. But it was fun to think about how something that seems so disconnected from like Britain and fairies and magic swords and stuff does have something in common, which is colors. I learned so much tangential stuff from Pokemon, like things that inspired the Pokemon or the world it takes place in. That's something I think is really cool. So it's an experience I want to make sure other people can have when they read my stuff. I've seen people do gouache and then like watercolor on top of it, so I might not get to it today, but it's something I want to do in the future. Look, it's so pink. You can't really see it from over there. Hold on. I'm gonna draw a kind of rough idea of what I want the daughter to look like right now. The sea goddess's daughter. Right now, I actually don't want her to be a mermaid, but I could work on that stuff later. I knew even before I decided that her mom was going to be a zombie, I knew I wanted this character to be like kind of bony and awkward looking. So that's something I could adjust now. I gave her kind of lower eyelashes like this. And just remember, all this can change, but this is what I have in mind for now. I imagine her being someone who is very kind. She's very quiet, and she's not, at least right now, not exactly a caretaker. I've drawn her with kind of a strand of hair in her face and trying to figure out how to like simplify that so it's not distracting. She's pretty skinny. Not quite the bangs I want. Hold on. Maybe like this. Does that read clearly to you guys? Do you get what's going on? It like blends back into the rest of her hair. Apologies if you can hear the thunderstorm in the background. It's just a little quirk of being where I am. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. This is really hard to make look right, so I might have to drop it eventually. I'm going to clean this up a bit, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Her name is Greta, which means pearl. I wonder if people would compare her to a cat, since I imagined her as one of those people who cares really deeply about others but has a hard time expressing it. Occasionally I hear people talking about their Benadryl demons, and I hope they're not really drinking enough Benadryl to start hallucinating, because that sounds dangerous. Let me fix up her cheek a little bit. I've heard that some people have tried penguin meat, and it tastes more fishy than meaty, and it's very oily. And there's no way that penguins could know this, of course, but that sounds like a double whammy of gross to me, because those are two of my least favorite flavors of all time. We'll now commence the mixing. I I want this to be a pretty pale green, so I'm gonna start with mostly white. I wonder if I could make it like a minty green. I'm not sure what color to make her eyes. I used to have them as yellow, but at the time her hair was also blue, so that was a very different vibe. I think I want to add some yellow to this too. I want it to be a little darker too. I wonder how long normal artists spend just mixing their paints to get things to look right. Maybe it's a while. I do like how this looks. It's kind of a sea green. I want to add a little more yellow. Okay. This might not be like her final hair color forever, but I think it looks pretty good for now. I just want to make sure everything is like evenly blended, because I feel like it looks like it's got streaks. This is thicker paint than I'm used to, so it helps to almost like float it on. Maybe I should get a smaller brush too, but it's already a little hard to move around. I guess that's why they tell you to like shake it or thin it out first, right? Well, I'm not thinning my paint. I don't have time for that. But it makes sense to like shake it up. I should probably draw bigger too, since it covers up all the lines. I don't want to accidentally go over them. I'm not sure this hair color is quite right for her. I feel like it's not quite giving off the mood I want it to. But it's interesting how it goes on in layers. It almost reminds me of clay. A lot of times why you see like anime bangs drawn transparently is to make sure that you can still read the expression under them. Because that's what's most important in a character design is making sure you can understand what it's trying to communicate. I don't work with acrylics very often, but this is definitely a little bit different from that. It's hard to explain. It's like creamier. Is it like ice cream and gelato? I wonder if I could paint like a simple shape, which is what I tried to do here, but I think my brush wasn't big enough. An interesting thing about this is it's pretty thick. It's a little bit hard to move around, but at the same time, it feels really smooth. I wonder if I could try drawing the mom again too, who I really need to come up with a name for. It's easier to spread around with a rectangle brush like this. There's probably an official name for it, but I don't care. Maybe I could do like quick sketches of the gods in general and let people guess what they represent. I think I should mix up the paint while it's in the palette here so that it's easier to work with. Maybe I should get a clean brush to do that. I forgot. This red is so saturated. I think you're probably expected to mix it with other stuff. But it's interesting how bright it is. It reminds me of roses. That was my pencil. I am clumsy. So the blue color for her hair, I do wonder if that would still work. We just have to mix them up and try it. And that would take a minute. I'm not too worried about having just plain white here, so I'm okay with it if I mix it all up. Okay. I don't want her silhouette to be too wide. I'm going for more tall and narrow, but I'm trying to get the shape right. It's interesting how visible the texture is when you paint with this. Maybe that's one of the reasons why people like it, they like the visibility. I'm shaking it up. One second. I think I remember how I did her bangs now. It was like this. These are loops and they're like tucked in. Should I get rid of the stray hair? I usually add stray hairs because I feel like otherwise the hair looks too solid. That might make her hair look too short. I want it to be nice and long. You can kind of see where the colors mix too. It's interesting. You probably can mix watercolors somehow. I just haven't figured out how to do it, and it's not something I'm super interested in when I'm working with them. What do you think? Should I add another stray hair here? I think there was a drawing of her once where I did that. I haven't drawn her in a little while, so I'm having to kind of pick up. See how her hair looks like waves? That's kind of what I was going for. That was before I decided to have her mom, the sea goddess character, be more associated with green. So I want to make it clear when you see them that they're connected. I do love painting hearts in general. I wonder if I could make like a slightly darker green or one that's less soft. I'm going to try and do a smaller drawing of her. I don't want her chin to be too sharp. I gave her a pretty long nose. I don't want all her hair to be in loops, but it helps provide a kind of silhouette. Hold on. I might not have space to draw her whole body here, but I at least want to do the upper half. I want her to look kind of tired, but not like evil. Like she wouldn't start a conversation, but she would have one if you started one. that too complicated? Maybe, should I make this part simpler? I don't know. I think to color this, I need to use a pretty small brush. Yeah, let's put it like that. Make it clear she has nice long hair. Gotta clean my brush. I forgot I was holding it for like the last 5 minutes. That's ADHD for you. Maybe kind of a long neck. It's a little too wide. You need to shorten those up a little bit. If you've never seen like a drawing process before, this is the kind of work that goes into your favorite drawings. That's why it's important to appreciate it. A good way to describe her is knobbly. Okay. Her clothes aren't too complicated, at least not right now. But I might wanna do like outfit designs in the future. Do I want it to? I have decided how I want her hair to end. Maybe like this. I might also just leave it in loops for now. Here's her collarbone. I showed this to my mom once, not this exact drawing, but a drawing, and she was surprised that I always drew those. I was like, you don't? Well, she doesn't draw that often, but you get the idea. Gotta clean this up a little more. I always forget to erase this part of the head, and that gets in the way. Is there like a tiny rectangle brush in this kit? I would check. That looks good. Something else I forgot about leaving out paint for a long time is that it slightly dries. Well, guess I'm gonna have to get used to that. I probably won't use this for every single thing I make, but it's really fun. Having a really small straight brush lets you get in these really tiny spaces. Use a little more. There. What do you guys think of this color? It almost looks like a sky blue. All right. Her clothes are actually pretty similar, simple. Tiny bit of yellow. Well, I'll adjust that later. I'm going to make some darker green. Hold on. That's way too dark. Does anyone have any tried and true methods for mixing paint? I feel like I'm not awesome at it. I really want to try out the pink. Let's hold on a minute. That's a layer green. I picked up some white by mistake, but it looks pretty good. There's a project I'm making right now that has like this exact green on it. Hold on. Hold on. Gonna move this out of the way for now. I actually don't use green that often, so I'm trying to think what's another character I have. There is the goddess of love I draw with big green eyes. Maybe I could draw like a big painting of her face. Anyway, the project I'm working on right now is a crochet mermaid in pink and green, which is one of my favorite color combinations. And the tail fins are like exactly this color, so I just want to try and draw them out real quick. I feel like these eyes are too close together and now they look scared. I could try and finish it. I can make some lighter green, which I can use for the mermaid's tail. Since I like the color combo a lot, but I also use it for the goddess of love, so I don't want to repeat. But I do love the idea of having a kind of patchwork mermaid character in my story. You know how there's like the idea of a patchwork zombie, where like Enchantarian made a doll, for example, where it's half cat, half dog. It could be fun to do that, but with like a person and a fish, and that's just how you got this particular mermaid. The doll in the pattern is named Amelia, but I might give her her own name. That is not the color I was going for, but let me see. She does also have a lot of dark green on her, like a ruffle. Let me show you. It's a different shade, but hold on. How you do this in crochet is just by adding like too many stitches, so it like wrinkles and folds up. There's probably a scientific explanation for it, but I think it's really cool. I'll draw the rest in a minute. Hold on. Or I could paint it in with the black paint and fill it in. Although that might bleed. Where did I put a small brush? Her hair isn't really this dark pink, but I want to just sketch it out. I might have put the ruffle too close to the head, but it's what we have. She's got a really round face and two little eyes, but that's all there is to her expression. I think you're supposed to imagine the rest. So that's a little big. I'm not sure what else to use the black for because I actually don't use it very often. But there is one character I have in mind who might make use of it. I haven't figured out what her purpose is in the story, though. That's something that's always tricky. Like, man, I love this design. What do I do with it? She's posable, too, because I put wire in. It was a pretty thick wire, though, so it's actually a little hard to bend. Really round hands. In crochet, you usually don't add individual fingers, but there are some patterns that do. I also gave her a pink ruffle around her neck because I ran out of my usual peach color that I was using for her skin tone, and I had to switch to a different one. I decided to at least try and make it look intentional by adding a ruffle at that junction. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to clean my brush enough to add it, but I'm going to try. There's also a darker pink here on the top of her, well, top. I might not color this all in just because it's just for fun, but it's fun to draw her because this is a doll that I'm making, so obviously she's much simpler than most things that I draw. Usually I go for more of a hand shape and I draw on the whole face. And my eyes are really detailed. I had this idea for a character a while back that's like a gothic princess. And I gave her this kind of hair. I wanted her to look sort of like a rose. Give her a sort of flower motif. And I know I have a whole story I want to take place in a sort of gothic setting, but I'm not sure what level of gothic. Like, do I want it to have actual castles, or do I just want there to be like big fancy houses? I'm not sure yet, so I'm not sure what story I'm going to put her in at the moment. And I'll draw it in more in a minute, but or maybe next time, because I'm still learning how to use these. But I gave her like flowers in her hair too, roses. I imagine her being kind of like shy, so I hope this hairstyle sells that pretty well. Obviously, in real life, don't judge what someone is like based on their hairstyle. This is just character design. See how she has her hair up here and then it's in bunches? Well, I imagine it being kind of curly here. This is meant to look like flower petals. Let me try and draw her face in real quick. Lots of eyelashes. I'm not awesome at it, but I wanted her lipstick to look a little bit like flower petals too. I keep forgetting that's right there because I am clumsy. Hold on. I gave her like eyeshadow too, but I'm not completely sure how to paint that in right now because these paints very strong. I'll probably have to work on blending those another time, but just as a sketch, I'll show you. I could try adding a tiny bit of gouache and then do watercolor on top around one of these other things once they're nice and dry. If you ever like can't hear what I'm saying, I am trying to speak up. I just have allergies. I shake it up. It's really hard to get out just a tiny bit of this stuff. I don't remember what color eyes I gave her. Here, I'll do like a small drawing of her hair from the back so you can see what I was going for. This is intended to be a rose, if you can't tell. The kind where the petals look kind of pointy. Like, I know they probably aren't really pointy. That's just what they look like to me. That's the shape language I'm going for. All right, nice small amount of black. I think I'm getting better at controlling it a bit. Don't need too much. So I imagine her having a bun on the back of her head like this, and it's harder to like erase and adjust proportions in paint, but this flower would be at the bottom of her bun like a hair clip. And the rest of her hair is falling down in waves. I think I do also, I also draw this rose with a couple leaves attached to it, so I might add that too. Leaving these spaces for the leaves. All right, can you tell this is clearly all black hair now? I don't want to use too much paint right away because I'm still learning it, but I want to show that this is all like the same color. I've drawn the middle of the flower as being yellow too. I don't imagine this character being mean or anything. I just imagine her being really afraid. Maybe that's why she doesn't leave the big fancy house or castle, you know? I gotta shake this. I forgot. Hold on. What else do you guys do to mix up paints? Do you just do this every time and hope no one's like filming? Okay, that's better mixed than it was last time for sure. I should probably let this dry in between colors too. All right, do you see how these are clearly the shape of rose leaves? If you haven't seen them before, they're very oval, but they have pointy ends. And the end that's connected to the stem is much rounder. I wonder if I should work more green into her design in other places. I'm not sure if I have to fill in the middle of the flower, but I could try it just to see how it works. I never really thought about it before, but maybe an important thing to learn when you're trying out a new art supply isn't just like what is it, it's how do you use it, how does it work. Hold on. All right, that's way better mixed than last time. That's good. I actually don't mind if this looks a little messy because that seems in character for her. But I do want to try and use all this up. I think I gave her green eyes, actually. Hold on. There. I could give her earrings too. I think I did the last time I drew her, but I don't remember what they looked like. Maybe I won't worry about it right now. All right. Now I'm going to put these away, and real quick, I want to add some watercolor on top of some of the stuff that's dry to see how it looks. I don't have like a strict red in here, but I have like a reddish orange that I think would work for her lips. I have a bad habit of adding too much water to the watercolors. So I'm trying to make sure I can actually move them around when I get them. I think I can add the eyeshadow easier with this too. I drew her eyes looking more curved too, but that can be harder to manipulate with paint. All right, I think I'll add a little bit of this silver now too. I don't want the makeup to be too heavy, but I do want it to be visible. I wonder if I could try adding some of the black watercolor to her hair here just to see how it looks. There's still some green on this brush, so I'm trying to get it off real quick. That looks really pretty. Isn't that pretty? Let me adjust that a little bit. There. Messed up the petal a little bit. Let's add just a bit more and then we'll be done. I love things that sparkle. And I didn't used to know that sparkly watercolors even were a thing, but I'm really happy to get to use them now. All right. I think that's going to be it for today. We'll probably use these again off cam, obviously. But until next time, thanks for coming, and I'll see you in the next one.